I don't care what CBC says, anybody has to say, quite honestly. They don't know what's happening, so I really don't give a shit what they say.
Well, the dispute between a John Tortorella and a Glenn Healy on Saturday night really got things going. The Canucks home opener was a success. And, I don't know, Glenn Healy wanted to throw some words John Tortorella's way. He did just that, and we did get to finally see, for the very first time here in Vancouver, the real John Tortorella finally express his emotion, and it was really something else. I can't believe it. It was pretty funny, I'm not going to lie. My name is Tyson Fedora. Joining me is Emad Agahi, of course. And Emad, John, just go back to that comment Saturday night made. It was... Finally, John Tortorella arrived here in Vancouver, and it took the very first game of the home opener.
Well, by the way he said CBC, I don't even think he heard what Glenn Healy had to say there. But he had his fair comment there saying that he doesn't really care too much as to what Mr. Healy said. And that's, as you like to hear that as a Canucks fan, because Healy hasn't been too kind or too favorable to the Canucks in the past, and a lot of dislike for him around this city. And Elliot Friedman kind of showed him the ways as well after that comment.
I do agree with one quote that Glenn Healy did say, though, about the fact that Tortorella really shouldn't care what they have to say. And Tortorella is going to take that right to heart. And he believes that he doesn't have to care what the media does say about him, especially in a major market like Vancouver.
I think the problem with what Healy said was when he went after Tortorella and kind of gave him a shot about getting fired from the Rangers. That was kind of a cheap shot there and kind of an immature thing for Healy to say. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think Tortorella cares too much anyway. He's got a better job here in Vancouver, and his team is 2-1. So it's got that going for him.
And he's done a very good job so far with the Vancouver Canucks. The very first game, maybe a little bit of a write-off in that third period, but so far so good for the Vancouver Canucks. But these are games that they should be winning anyways, especially when you look to projected standings to the end of the year. The Edmonton Oilers, Calgary Flames, teams that most likely might not make the playoffs, especially in that tough Pacific Division. But it all boils down to what everybody's been waiting for, Emad. The New Jersey Devils have come to town, and are you ready for this? Because this is going to be a story that might just continue throughout the next 8-9 years with Roberto Luongo here in Vancouver, if he stays that long.
Well, yeah, big game at the arena tonight. You got the Devils coming in here on a back-to-back, of course losing to Edmonton last night, giving up a 3-0 lead. And that was a big thing they were talking about. Canucks trying to improve to 3-1, win their third in a row. And, oh yeah, Corey Schneider's back in town.
Who?
Former goalie of the Vancouver Canucks, who has commented as to saying it's odd going into the visitor dressing room today. And he'll be making the start, you'd have to think, against his old pal, Roberto Luongo. And that's pretty much the main story coming in tonight. Is that going to be a bit of a distraction, you think?
I think what the big story about this, of course, is the Schneider versus Luongo, and it's not the Devils versus Canucks. But in a sense, the goaltender who has got the more pressure on them right now going into this hockey game, it's going to have to be Roberto Luongo, just because of the entire saga that's gone on for the last God knows how long, 2.5 years, check that. And with Corey Schneider coming up, it was about 14 months that this whole thing started to drag out. But Roberto Luongo has to perform tonight, and he has to do a very good job. But credit to Roberto Luongo, the last 2 times that the Devils have been in Vancouver, and he has been in net in 2011 and 2007. He's been able to record a shutout. The last time they were here, of course, Roberto Luongo was sick, and Corey Schneider got the start. So that's a bit of a positive sign. And the last time the New Jersey Devils were in Vancouver and actually came away with the win was 1996 or 99. I forget what the actual stat there was. But it's been a very long time, and it's a time coming for the New Jersey Devils, and they might just be able to do it with the goaltender and Corey Schneider.
And I agree with what you said there. You think anyone in New Jersey, their coaching staff, even Corey Schneider, cares what happens tonight? I mean, it'd be nice to get the W, but really, that's going to go down as just another game for them, and pretty much a game that they want to just get over with and fly back home to the East Coast. But on the other side, if Luongo loses this game, then the Vancouver media is going to be all over him, the management, and they'll have something to say as to whether they chose the right guy to stick with. So a lot more riding on the Vancouver side of things. Again, could be a distraction there. Of course, they got to focus on the game tonight. I mean, here's a team they can easily beat, a team that hasn't won yet this year, a team that gave up a 3-0 lead in the third period last night, and a very winnable game here at home. That's what they should be focusing on. We'll just see what happens as 7 o'clock rolls around here in Vancouver.
And that is correct. And you nailed it right on the head there. I believe one of the first questions that might be thrown GM Mike Gillis's way, if this does go sour tonight, is you sure you made the right move, Mike? And I believe Gillis will stand pat and be like, I did make the right move. This was an organizational move. It was a depth move. It was something that needed to be put to rest, and it has been put to rest. And I think a week from now, I think people are going to start forgetting about the whole Schneider-Luongo thing, and everyone's just going to move on with their everyday lives, because it is kind of blowing up as a sense like it's almost a playoff game type deal about Schneider-Luongo, and it's about the two individuals, and it's not about the teams right now. And if you're the Vancouver Canucks, you just want to focus on doing your job, getting the job done at home, and coming out with a strong effort, especially after the last time they were at home with that big 6-2 win over the Oilers in the home opener. But it kind of lacklustered out in Calgary at the Scotiabank Saddledome for the first 40 minutes or so. Eddie Lack, what a sensational game he had out there. First NHL game, first NHL win for Eddie Lack. And if it wasn't for him, I believe the Canucks would have been blown right out of the waters there.
Yeah, a lot of questions coming into this year as to if Eddie Lack could be that dependable guy that they haven't really needed and as a backup role for a while, as we had two starting goaltenders here for however many years. And he played well, and it looked like until the 10 minutes into the third period that the team was going to hang him out to dry. But, I mean, they battled back for him, got a W for him in his first NHL game, and he was quite happy about it, and he deserved to win that game just by the way he played in net. And, of course, the splitting of the Sedins, a big factor coming out of that game, that produced a few chances and a few goals. And it's going to be interesting to see if that's what they'll go with tonight, or if they will, ride the Sedins again for the first couple of periods and change it up if need be in the third. The Sedins played really well at home on Saturday, and it seems like at home they do feed off that energy and they do play well. And let's not forget they're playing for a contract here this season, and can't afford to have too many games off.
Now, I just want to go back to a quote from Mr. Roberto Luongo today on a former teammate of his in Corey Schneider, and how tough it really is going to be today while playing the New Jersey Devils when they come to town.
It is just another game, but it's a fun one. So they were trying to win a game, so that's what my focus is going to be on tonight. Yeah, I mean we're not going to get any freebies tonight, so we're going to have to work for our goals. We're going to have to be harder on the crease and make sure that we bang away, dig away at pucks, because it's going to be tough to get some goals.
All right, Roberto Luongo talking there about Corey Schneider, how tough it will be to beat him tonight, and how the game plan is going to roll on for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. But you mentioned it, guys are going to have to step up the pace here, and John Tortorella said it best on the weekend out in Calgary, how his basically utility players are coming big and coming up with him. Brad Richardson on Saturday night really turned the game around for the Vancouver Canucks after that early goal they gave up. But in Calgary, it was all about the Burnaby boy, Mike Santorelli. This guy was on a tear. You got the OT winner, of course, and 2 goals on the year so far. And those are games that they're going to expect guys like the Santorellis, the Richardsons, that bottom 6 type deal to get the job done and help out the scorers who really weren't effective at all in that hockey game.
Yeah, secondary scoring is something that every team wants to have and every team needs, and something that we haven't had in Vancouver really since 2011 when Kessler scored over 40 goals. And that's something that they'll need to have, is the Mike Santorellis and the David Booths, who both scored in the game on Sunday night. Those are guys that need to be scoring, and not just on empty nets or every once in a week. They need those guys scoring every game or as close to it as possible. And good signs, but it's only 3 games in, and Santorelli's really impressed. Even Tortorella said really, really impressed since the opening day of camp. It looks like he's determined to have a good year, bounced around a couple teams, really trying to find himself since scoring about 30 goals in Florida. We've heard the same story about another guy who wears number 7 in this town. He's trying to find his way back. It would be nice to see those guys come in and do a good job. Fans were upset when they sent down Shinkarik and Horvat and guys like that who have offensive capabilities, but it might very well work out for the Canucks. You got to put those guys in an opportunity to score too. Putting a Sedin on their line really helps them out.
You're exactly right, but it's also guys who you thought maybe not going to make that big of an impact coming into the year, and I'm gonna have to call myself out here because I kind of got on Mike Gillis. I know it's 3 games into the regular season, but with that waiver wire pickup of Ryan Stanton, he looked sensational on Sunday night in Calgary. John Tortorella spoke highly of him, and a young guy, 23, 24 years old there. And they do have something with him. Now is this just a little phase he's going through that he's excited to be on a new team, get thrown right there into the top 6, and be playing with some pretty talented guys on the back end? Or is this just maybe the tail end of a streak that might not continue as well, and you see guys like maybe a Yannick Weber or Andrew Alberts take his spot on the roster?
Given some playing time, he's doing well. On that third pairing, paired with a guy like Tanev that sits at home and really allows Stanton to float around and do what he needs to without having to worry about the defensive end as much. I know John Tortorella was very happy with his play. 16 minutes and 19 seconds of ice time. Now, it's not too crazy, but when you look at it and you look at the ice time that a guy like Dan Hamhuis got, he only got about 40 seconds more. You see how well he played just by looking at the ice time compared to a mainstay here in Vancouver and one of our best defensemen in Dan Hamhuis. So he's doing well, and he's just got to keep it going. He's got to keep it rolling, and if he keeps it up, he'll play. He'll keep the $600,000 that he makes staying up here as opposed to the $100,000 that he'll get in the AHL.
Now, of course, Ryan Stanton, the St. Albert native, 24 years old, hasn't played too much in the NHL. He's a handful of games. He's up to 4 now. He's going to most likely be playing again tonight. And he's already got an assist in the NHL. So that was all part of his sensational game on Sunday night. And I really hope this kid does start to shine and come through. And maybe it was the right move to send Frankie Corrado down instead of giving him that 6th D-man spot and just play, I guess, a matter of minutes. Of course, you are listening to the Tyson and Emad podcast here at BCIT on your Tuesday night. Canucks Devils, 7 o'clock on TSN tonight. But it is time, I guess, to switch gears here, move into a little MLB baseball, playoffs underway. And Emad, a couple big games tonight. Actually, a couple underway, but Oakland, Detroit playing tonight. Oakland has a chance to knock off the Tigers and move on. Of course, you were able to sit in a bit. We're actually going to be able to be joined by our MLB insider. So, Emad, what do you expect out of that Oakland-Detroit game?
Yeah, it's actually, when going into the playoffs, no one really, wanted to sit down and watch all the games in this Oakland-Detroit series. It wasn't the sexy matchup as Pittsburgh and St. Louis is, or the Dodgers and Atlanta, but it's proved out to be a good series. You saw the benches clearing yesterday, and close games, a 1-0 game a couple days ago. They're going into Game 4 with Detroit needing to win, and they're duking it out right now. It's 5-4 Detroit, a back-and-forth game. I know they were down 3-0 early. So it's been a really good series to watch, and oh man, you got to love this time of the year. Yesterday, sitting in front of the TV, and you got 4 games all day. It's just heaven for a baseball fan. And a Game 5 coming up tonight. We'll talk to Blair coming about all of this, and he'll share his insight, and we'll know a lot more about the MLB playoffs after tonight. course, that was Jose Lavatone hitting the game-winning home run, a walk-off home run, getting the Rays back in this series, only down 2-1 now. We're joined by our baseball insider, Blair Cumming. It's a great time of the year to talk baseball. It seems like we have 4 games on every day. And nice win for the Rays, Blair, but can they really come back and win this series?
Well, I mean, my hats are off to the Tampa Bay Rays. It seems like they've been playing postseason baseball since the beginning of September. I think the line's drawn short here. It's going to be an awfully daunting task to not only beat Jake Peavy at home tonight, but even if they do get by him, they got to go back into Fenway and win a Game 5 with Lester on the mound. So I feel like this is the Red Sox time here.
Oakland leads Detroit 2-1. Now, of course, that game is going on right now, tied 3-3 in the bottom of the 6th inning. They seem to have outpitched the Tigers and out-hit them as well. Is that something that you would have predicted coming into this series?
Well, I mean, Oakland is the type of team that they don't really have one ace on their staff. They get it done. They pitch very much to their friendly confines in Oakland with the big pitchers park. I mean, on paper, I am surprised. However, I'm not surprised that the Oakland A's are getting it done, pitching-wise, hitting-wise, defense-wise. I mean, they're just an overall solid ball club, and they definitely have been outplaying Detroit so far.
A bit of an altercation between Grant Balfour and V-Mart last night. We've seen a lot of this kind of stare down in between players, pitchers, hitters. Why has that become more apparent in the MLB, especially nowadays?
Well, I think the big issue here is hitters not feeling comfortable with the inside pitch. Now, I feel like, I don't know when this has started, but, I mean, pitchers have the right to pitch inside. And I think the hitters have just got to be able to deal with it. When you pitch inside, I mean, it's evident that you're going to hit guys once in a while. And most of the time it's not on purpose. But, I mean, retaliating for a pitcher pitching inside is kind of ridiculous. And I think the hitters just need to man up and take it because it's going to happen. It's part of the game.
It seems like, especially nowadays, some of that derives off players not respecting each other as much as they used to. I mean, you have these young guys who are hyped up coming into the majors, and that seems to be a factor as well. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree. You get these young guys drafted out of high school, drafted out of college, getting these big signing bonuses, and, just having the entitlement that they are somebody when they are not yet proven. So, I think obviously money in some cases goes to some of these young guys' heads.
A huge game in the NLDS tonight between Pittsburgh and St. Louis. That series is tied at 2 going into Game 5. It's going to be young versus old as Adam Wainwright takes on Garrett Cole. Who do you like in this one, pitching-wise and, of course, the game itself?
Well, as much respect as I have for Pittsburgh and the year that they've had this year, I really felt like if they were going to take this series, it was going to be last night in Game 4 at home. Of course, St. Louis the last couple of years they've been a dominant force, and I just think the fact that they're at home with their ace on the mound and an inexperienced Pirates team, I feel like the Cardinals are heavily favored in this game.
As always, that was our baseball insider, Blair Cumming.
On to the MLS.
So, push forward one more time. Maddox sends it in. Goes to Waikili, cuts it back. Camilo! My goodness!
It was a sensational goal indeed by Camilo on the weekend to tie things up against the Portland Timbers in a 2-2 game. That was one game I was able to watch, and my goodness, 3 goals in the span of 3 minutes. It was back and forth action at BC Place, and the Whitecaps needed a win out of that game. It was a tough one for them, just getting the 1 point. They still have a chance at playoffs with a huge game coming up tomorrow in Seattle. But Emad, that goal by Camilo was sensational, as Craig McEwen mentioned. And I got to say, Camilo's impressed me this year. He really, really has.
Yeah, he's been great for the last couple of years, actually. Yeah, it was a good game. I mean, a good day of sports in general for Vancouver. I mean, that game was happening at the same time as the Flames and the Canucks game, and my dad and I were on the couch watching TV, and we were just flipping in between these games. We actually missed the Camilo goal because there was no way in our minds that the Caps could come back after tying the game at 1, only to have Portland make it 2-1 seconds later. Oh man, what a game! And Camilo, this guy, when you think about Camilo, you just think offense. I mean, he's second in the league in scoring, 18 goals, and first in shots. 107 shots he's attempted, 47 on goal. Like that, those are good numbers. And when he gets the ball around the 18, he's only got one thing on his mind, and that's unleashing one on net. And he's the free kick taker now for the Caps, and he can do it all. 2 huge goals. I mean, if you think back, if the Whitecaps make it to the playoffs, which I mean doesn't look like it's going to happen unless a miracle run happens, but you look back at these 2 goals and you see how big these 2 goals were, and of course the quality of the goals. I mean, a bicycle kick, are you kidding me? That free kick, he was fortunate to have that deflected, but it was a good shot anyway. So yeah, great game by Camilo, and he just keeps doing it year in, year out, game in, game out, and it's the type of player that the Whitecaps need more of, and they need to build around him and keep him on their roster.
Well, he showed so much composure this year with Camilo. Those 18 goals, as you mentioned, Emad, but he's got 35 goals in a Vancouver Whitecaps jersey dating back to their inaugural season in 2011. He's only been in 89 appearances. You think half those goals have just come this season. And I believe Camilo's a changed man from what he was in 2011 and in 2012. This year, he seems so much more relaxed at the age of 25. He's a small guy, 5'7", and he's not one of the biggest guys, so he's going up against guys at center back night in, night out, and he's having a tough time, but he's been able to work into his game how to be a much smarter player. He's not taking dumb yellow cards like he used to. He's just staying more focused when he's out there, and when he's out there, you mentioned it, you nailed it right on the head, Emad. He's just looking for one thing, and that's the back of the net every single time when he's inside that 18-yard box. And credit to him. He's been one of the bright points for the Vancouver Whitecaps this season so far. But 3 games left here, or 4 games left, actually. A couple dates against Real Salt Lake and Colorado, and now, of course, Seattle on Wednesday. So these are going to be some tough games for the Vancouver Whitecaps coming up.
Yeah, not an easy schedule, like in the least. Real Salt Lake first in the league, 2 games against them. You play Seattle at home, the gauntlet in which the Sounders play in, and Colorado, who they're chasing. Now, they got to make up 6 points in that 4-game period, and the way they're playing, that's harder done than said. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, and there's not just the Whitecaps. There's a lot of teams trying to get into the playoffs in the Western Division, and Colorado, San Jose, FC Dallas, all are in it and all are competing. So it's going to be a really good finish to the Western Conference playoff race here in the MLS.
And I think you nailed it. 5 games left for the Whitecaps. I believe a couple dates with Colorado and Real Salt Lake, as you mentioned, Emad. And, of course, that 1 game against Seattle. So if you look at the scenarios, 3 teams that could be out, of course, would be the Whitecaps, Dallas, and San Jose. Even Colorado have a chance to not make it. But when you look at it, the Galaxy also sitting in 4th, tied in points with the Rapids. So you can go through all the scenarios that you want, but it's all about winning for the Whitecaps right now. You can gain a possible 15 points with the 5 games remaining, and if you can get, I want to say 3-4 wins there, you can really boost yourself in getting a playoff spot this year in that top 5, because right now the Whitecaps sitting in 7th. tied games with San Jose, 2 points back of them, but they're 6 points out of a playoff spot. So it's going to be tough, and they got to start keeping the ball out of their net.
And the Whitecaps have a flair for the dramatic, so don't count them out yet.
You can't count them out, of course. Now, we want to switch gears to something, I guess, personal on our part. The BC Major Midget League is underway once again this year, and Emad, we're very lucky to have the chance to actually call some games this year in the BC Major Midget League for the Vancouver Northwest Giants, who pretty solid weekend actually. If you aren't familiar with the BC MML, it is the major midget level of hockey here in BC. Some very, very great talent and future NHL stars that might just be in the midst of your community, of course, playing out of the Burnaby Winter Club. And Emad, we were able to call a game on Saturday night for them against the Greater Vancouver Canadians. Players that have come out of here in the NHL, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. You've had the, my mind's blanking here, the Reinhardt brothers, out of the Northwest Giants as well. But the Greater Vancouver Canadians have Evander Kane from Winnipeg. So you got these players who have played in BC, their major midget level, and it's some pretty good hockey, if to say the least.
Yeah, and you know the top prospects in that league and that team, you watch 10 minutes of the first period, and you know who they are. I mean, they're impressive players. At 16 and 15 years of age, the shots that they can, take from the point, and the moves and the speed and the strength, it's impressive hockey. And we're lucky enough not to just be commentating and expressing opinion, but just to watch those games. I encourage you to come out and watch, a league like the BC MML or the BCHL. I mean, that's good hockey, and these are all kids trying to make it up, and they got to play their best game each and every night, and it normally turns out, some great 5-4, 6-5 overtime, double overtime, great action, and that's something we've been lucky to be a part of and take in just as a fan. So.
That's true, and you mentioned BCHL as well, best junior A hockey in the entire country. I can say that coming from the AJHL out in Alberta, they're probably second best, but the BCHL top-notch players, and it's been fantastic. Of course, you're in with the Coquitlam Express, Emad, and you saw a pretty good weekend of hockey as well with Coquitlam, and just talk about the Coquitlam Express and I guess the achievements and improvements they've made this year to be a top-notch club in the BCHL.
Yeah, much of it was made about their struggles last year, just gradually falling in the standings. But this year, it's been a great ride for head coach Barry Wolf and just the players in general. They're an offensive juggernaut, this team. And to have guys like Adam Rockwood from Coquitlam, a hometown boy, leading the league in, points, he's a great assist getter, 15 assists on the year in just 10 games, 19 points. Those are impressive numbers, and it just seems like every time that the line of Adam Rockwood, Corey Mackin, and Ryan Rosenthal, who now was awarded Player of the Week in the BCHL as well last week, it's really fun to watch, and been lucky to be able to be a part of that so far. The players are known for, so good kids, great hockey, and yeah, so if you have a chance, we do encourage you to check it out. Maybe swing by the Burnaby Winter Club and say hi to the broadcast team that they've assembled. And, we'll put you on air.
You bet, of course. That is it, though, for today's segment. It's been a beauty. Emad, it's always a pleasure doing this. It's going to be one heck of a year for sure. And if you are checking out the Canucks and Devils, enjoy it. I get to go down there, enjoy the games. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to be one dandy game. And Emad, any final comments on the night?
Yeah, we do post the podcast on YouTube and Twitter. So if you have a chance, follow our Twitter page at Tyson and Emad. And A is spelled out A-N-D. And, on there you could find our personal Twitters as well. So, yeah, give us a follow. Tell us what you think. And we'll, see you next week.
Sounds good, of course. My name is Tyson Fedora Matagahi with me today. That is it. We will talk to you again next Tuesday. Up until then, make sure you stay tuned up on all your sports so you know what we're talking about next week on Tuesday. Make sure you have a good week. And happy Thanksgiving.